How's it going, everyone? It has been a while, and today we are going to be finally reviewing the Pimax 4K PC VR headset. So let's get right into it. Now, the Pimax 4K headset is pretty much the second real PC VR headset to be released on the market from China after the Deepoon E2, which are both targeted towards as a cheaper alternative to the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. Priced at around $350 US, it is fairly cheap compared to their alternatives. Not only being cheap, but they also claim to have a 4K display, hence the name. But how well does it perform? Well, let's find out. So starting with the design, hardware, and build quality, on the front we'll find a simple Pimax 4K logo and a matte texture with a glossy trim all around the edges. Taking a look at the top, we'll find an LED indicator as well as the power and volume buttons, and on the sides we'll find the 3 rotating strap mounting points. Taking a look at the bottom, we'll find some venting holes and 2 model and serial stickers. Moving on to the strap, it is both good and bad. It is pretty good when the optional headphones are attached, but not so much without them. The strap itself is very stiff and uses velcros for adjustments, which results in having to break in the stiff ends to get the right length. Being stiff also means you'll end up with some uncomfortable rubbing around the top area of your ear. Moving on over to the back, there's a very nice and comfortable foam pad that gets the job done without any issues whatsoever. Now if you're throwing the optical pair of headphones, they are fairly easy to install, as you can see right now. They have a huge impact on the user experience in a very positive way. First of all, they are very comfortable with some very high quality stitching pleather, with some pretty great soft fabric and foam inside the ear cups in case your ears touch the plastic, which keeps things very comfortable. They are over the ear headphones and the sound quality is pretty damn good for what they are. Music sounded great with some relatively nice and clean punchy bass, and in the game of CSGO, it was very easy to locate enemy footsteps. Now moving on to the facepad we have here is detachable since it is velcroed. It is made of a nice soft foam material that is pretty comfortable. The only problem with it is that it absorbs moisture very easily, and depending on the user and the environment they are in, it could result in some foggy lenses. And speaking of lenses, yes, you can wear glasses with no problems whatsoever, plenty of room for glasses users. Moving down to the nose room, it is pretty good. My average size nose did not have any trouble breathing, and there were no hard points anywhere around the area. It has just enough room to not end up with a squished red nose. And finally, taking a look inside, we'll find the 50mm lenses with a claimed FOV of 110 degrees. In between the lenses, there is a sensor to auto turn on and off the display as mounted. Taking a closer look at the display, this is where things kind of start falling apart. First, they are not sharp. In fact, they can get pretty blurry for some people, since there are no physical IPD or focus adjustments. Now, why do I say physical? That is because the only type of adjustments it has is IPD adjustments in software, which makes no sense. Now, I personally don't have any problems focusing. I can use the headset with or without glasses, but the image quality is still not that clear, and it's not because of the lenses. Now, you may be asking, why is that? Isn't this a 4K headset? Well, you see, this headset, although it does have a 4K display, and although the pixels cannot be seen, since the headset runs off an HDMI 1.4B, which has limited bandwidth, it can only run 4K at 30Hz, 1440p at 60Hz, or 1080p at 60Hz, which is what it is locked at. And according to the documents, the only way you are able to use 4K 30Hz is by running a GTX 1080 card in extend mode to be able to have the option to run 4K 30Hz, which I cannot confirm since I don't have a GTX 1080. Although 60Hz or 60fps is pretty low, it does have some kind of interpolation to make the image quality smoother than it actually is. And I have to say that the tracking and the image response time is not bad at all. In fact, it's really responsive, but it does not make up for its poor image quality. But we're just getting started. Another issue that is present with the screen is that it's supposed to have some kind of IPS panel, where you would expect a very nice, vibrant, bright display, but instead you get a dull, very dim image. That makes everything not that pleasant to look at. And here is one of the biggest issues, and that is ghosting. Yes, the display has some very severe, visible ghosting effect when moving around. Now that could be because of the interpolation, or because the display just simply sucks, but most likely it is the display. Moving on to the tracking, again it is pretty good, but there are times where I have to reset my view since it drifts. And yes, it only has rotational tracking with no positional tracking whatsoever if you haven't already guessed. And that is pretty much it for the hardware. Let's get into the software and see how this headset performs overall in games and applications. When the headset was first released, there were a ton of problems with their Play program that is required to switch between direct mode and extend mode in order to run Steam VR. But now after a few software and firmware updates, they have finally fixed those problems, and now it just simply works for the most part. Upon launching the software, you'll be presented to the screen with 5 tabs. The first tab is basically your main info page where you can select your mode, check your serial number, firmware version, and headset connection status. The next tab with the controller is meant for downloading games from a selection made up of Steam store links, games and demos that are hosted on slow Chinese servers, and most of them don't work, so just stick with Steam VR and let's move on. The next tab is a selection of 360 photos and videos that are also hosted on slow servers that doesn't get much updates. The fourth tab is your downloads and ready to play tab for everything that you may download from the built-in store. And the last one is a contact and feedback tab, as well as a playlist check for update. Up in the top right corner, there's a settings menu with some simple functions, and inside the device tab is where you want to constantly turn on the cool color mode to get rid of the slight orange tint that is meant to save your eyes from blue light, as well as the software IPD adjustments improvements that I have mentioned before. Alright, the stage is set. How well does it perform when watching movies, playing games, or using virtual desktop? When watching movies, it is pretty good. The headphones do add a lot of comfort and great sound quality. Having the headset on for an hour barely produces any marks on my face since everything is so well padded. And here's the big one, you can actually keep this headset on for a pretty long time, 2 hours plus with no problems, other than fogging up in certain conditions. Moving on to gaming, Project Cars was not the best experience. There were a lot of drifting issues and not a lot of games that you can actually try since there is no positional tracking. Virtual desktop on the other hand was also a huge disappointment since the headset won't allow to freely change the resolution to 4K. As you would expect, 1080p virtual desktop was pretty bad. Text was just not readable and overall not the best thing to try on this headset. The gaming experience on the other hand was very limited since most of the games on Steam do require some type of positional tracking, which limits you to only games like Project Cars, Valkyrie, and some 360 experiences. And that about sums up the headset. This headset was marketed as a 4K headset when it clearly was not. In my opinion, if they only had stuck with a nice bright 1080p OLED 75Hz screen, it would have been a much better headset, especially paired up with those great headphones. Hopefully they release an update to allow 4K 30Hz, but for now, all we can do is give them props for taking a leap towards making VR cheaper and more accessible to people around the world, even though it was not perfect the first time. And this has been the longest review I've ever done, and that is pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed this video and found it helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone.